How do you survey these people? Do you call them on the telephone, and do you get self-selection when people say, I want to talk to you about preparedness, and they go, forget it, hang up, and you only get the people who are really concerned about preparedness?
The question was a methodological one, and it actually went to our ability to have adequate high external validity. What that means is, I am, but I'm rewording the question.
I'm sorry, I didn't word it right.
So that people get that it's about being able to generalize your findings to the population of people that weren't included. And you could have trouble doing that if you introduce bias by having people hang up on you if you call them up. So the answer to your question is, we thought about that. It was a telephone survey, and people did hang up. Many people hung up. And the appropriate protocols were used to deal with people hanging up, to minimize the biases that resulted.
Do they get
And
counted somehow then?
and we also cataloged the demographic characteristics, which is the main reason we asked about them in the survey, to compare the demographic characteristics of the resulting sample, or I should say Linda did, I keep saying we. I didn't really do the California study. I was actually thinking about the national one. Compare it to the most recent census estimate so you could see if your sample, which was statistically selected in the appropriate way to be able to generalize, matched on those demographic characteristics. Now, if 10% of the population is over the age of 80, and in your sample 40% of the population is over the age of 80, something's wrong and you have a problem generalizing. And the resulting comparisons, Linda tells me, on the California survey are well within the acceptable limits. So those are very important things to keep your eye on. And one of the reasons that those of us who decided on which contractor to go with wanted to use the UCLA-based team, because they're known for using pristine methods, because we're not going to get to do a survey like this every year, maybe not even every decade. Okay, does that answer your question? Thank you.
Now that they funded this useful research and they found out that information is the most important way to get your community prepared, are they willing to fund some of the communities that don't have the money to produce those informational brochures, shopping bags, and things like that?
The question was, is DHS willing to fund communities to produce these documents? My answer is, I don't know. I do know this, however, that the last time, which was before the presidential election, that I talked to people at DHS, they said that after the transition, that if they could have any say, they were going to drop the color codes, and they were also going to have this become a cornerstone and start moving in the direction of public education across hazards, because the data on the national survey also showed that what, in reference to terrorism, got people to prepare more was taking a multi-hazard approach, and that's another finding that warmed my heart. And so the Boy Scouts actually had it right 100 years ago. Be prepared for what? What happens? The question was, I said cues are important. How can we use smaller earthquakes to cue for people that they should go ready? I wasn't talking about earthquakes as cues. I was talking about preparedness activities as cues. In other words, if you went to your neighbor's cocktail party and they had their emergency supplies on display in the entry hall, or if you're running your HOA, and everybody where I live lives in an HOA in the desert, and people put placards in their kitchen window that says, we're prepared. Or if you ask the people who drive state vehicles to have a bumper sticker that says, get ready, or et cetera, et cetera. In other words, to provide visual cues for people. And so if you've done anything to get ready, be proud of it. Display it. Really do display your emergency supplies. And we're thinking of credible, new innovative ways to put that into place in Rancho Mirage and other places in the Coachella Valley, because we know we're at ground zero and we'd like to be as prepared as we could get our neighbors to prepare. So I'll let you come back in a year, I'll let you know if it worked. All right, well, thank you all for your keen attention. It was a pleasure talking.